Years ago, at age 13, Sarah Harden wrote to Jana Wendt to express respect for the journalist's intelligence, humor and ability to handle Mick Jagger calling her bossy boots. I have never written a letter to a celebrity, but I wanted to let you know that I've been watching you all my life, which hasn't been very long, and you're my favorite part of 60 Minutes, Harden wrote. Harden didn't become a foreign correspondent, as she had once hoped, but she has hardly underachieved. She now lives in Los Angeles and works as CEO of the media company Hello Sunshine, owned by actor Reese Witherspoon. It has a specific mission to fill a notable gap in the entertainment industry. There's just not enough narratives that put women at the center of the story, who have agency, who are driving the action, Harden says. There are too many side characters, too many bit parts. Alongside Witherspoon and her team, Harden is trying to change the way women's stories are told in an industry dominated by content about, and produced by, men. We think storytelling can shift culture and culture can shift the way women get to walk through the world, Harden says. Change who is in the room. Harden says there's a significant lack of female writers and directors, which exacerbates a lack of female representation on our screens. I think there's a connection between that lack of women, and women of color and other marginalized voices. And which narratives actually make it onto the screen, she says. If nothing else, she says, that's simply bad business, as women are 50% of the box office. It doesn't make business sense when the target audiences of media aren't fully represented on screen or involved in the authorship process, Harden says. Nor, says Harden, is it impossible to do better. Harden can point to several recent examples of film or television content where the women leads are fully rounded characters whose agency drives the storytelling. She lists series The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and Killing Eve, and movie The Hate U Give, as a few that I have really enjoyed recently. There's also Big Little Lies, a show put out by her company, which she says proves there are good stories to be told that put women in the spotlight. Harden has a word of advice for people producing these stories. Listen. If you have the power in the room, invite those with less power to speak and then become a world-class listener, she says. If you're on the other side of the table, trying to get your voice heard, Harden advises you practice using it when the stakes are low. Know you have a life ahead of you where you may need to use your voice when the stakes are higher. It will feel easier if you have been practicing, she says. And finally, on whatever side of the table you're positioned, Harden suggests you check your privilege. Work to understand your bias, We all have bias, and the power you already hold in our society, which is not a meritocracy. And then try and do better, Harden says. Jana Wendt responds, decades later. Harden says she finds Witherspoon a super impressive figure to work with, full of conviction and commitment. But what of the figure who impressed Harden as a teenager, and inspired her to pen that letter? Well, a couple of decades later, Wendt replied, after being contacted by a quick-thinking ABC producer. "Thank you for your letter," Wendt wrote to Harden, praising her curiosity and chutzpah in writing to a stranger on TV. "Of course, I'm disappointed you decided against journalism, which at its best is a path to discovering the truth. But you obviously saw something on the horizon a lot of the rest of us missed, a communications wave that would change everything. Enjoy the ride with all its peaks and troughs. My very best, Jana. Contract Anna Kelsey Sugg."